It's time to check your money with America's Money Maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Vicki, we got a special guest in the building.
We have absolutely a special guest in the building today. I'm really happy to see Mr. Robert, or as he's better known as Rob Simpson, who is the executive president and chief executive officer of CenterState CEO. For those of you who hear the term always CenterState CEO, that is the Corporation for Economic Opportunity, CenterState CEO here in Syracuse, New York. And I am thrilled, okay, that he's going to join us for a very in-depth conversation on several issues that are happening here in the upstate and central New York area. Rob, welcome.
Well, thank you, George and Vicki. Great to be with you as always.
It's always good to see you, Rob. And we should say welcome back
Thank you.
because Rob
It's good to be back.
Yes, yes. And welcome back because Rob did something that many people in his position may not have had the courage to do. Several months ago, Rob said, I need a break and I'm going to be off for a couple of months and I will return, but I need to do some stuff. And so, Rob, I know when you made that decision, man, you received probably the response that you did not expect, which was thousands of people saying, you go, do your thing. But then I know that decision was probably met with some trepidation. Take us through that. Like, how did you decide to take that sabbatical, if you will, in the height of all the stuff that's going on in the company and the agency? Why did you do it, and why did you need to do it?
Well, there's a lot there, but I'll give you the short version.
We got a
I
minute. Give it
I
to us.
ran out of energy. I ran out of creativity. I ran out of the patience that I try to bring to the work on a daily basis that helps me and our team work through really hard problems. And I exhausted all of those things in service of the cause that we all care about, right? The Central New York community. And I've been doing some version of this job for 22 years. And I think somewhere around last summer, I hit a wall that I couldn't break through. Every wall I've ever hit in my life, I've figured out how to push through, jump over, dig under, flow around. And this time I found myself in a hole that was really hard to dig out of. And every time I tried, I just seemed to fall deeper into this state of burnout. And it felt oppressive. It felt inescapable. And that does weird things to your brain. And then your brain does weird things to your body. And I ended up having a series of successive panic attacks over the summer of 2024 that just got worse and worse. And every time I thought I was in the midst of dying, which I wasn't actually, but maybe metaphorically speaking, and it became pretty obvious as those proceeded to go on over the summer that something I was doing wasn't working for me. And over the course of that summer, I came to realize that I just didn't have the energy and the drive, and I wasn't getting the joy that I often get from the work, and that I needed to do something different for myself. Everyone in that situation would probably have a different solution. For me, what I knew I needed to do, what was weighing on me the most heavily, was the sense of responsibility I feel for all the different threads of our work in our community. And what I really needed in that moment was I needed to put that responsibility down, let other people pick it up so that I could clear my mind and get back to a place where I could sleep and I could eat and I could rediscover things that I love to do that aren't work. And that was the genesis. I approached my board chair and had a conversation and ultimately had overwhelming support from our executive committee and our board. And as you mentioned, the community was remarkable. And I managed to take 3 months without touching work a single time.
Without touching work, without texting, checking, anything.
Not one shred of work for 90 days.
And you had the opportunity with a supportive board and an organization to do that, Rob. And did you know that you were going to come back, or did you decide?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you knew.
No, I knew I was coming back. I knew Listen, there was a lot that I didn't know going into that sabbatical. I didn't know how I was going to feel. I didn't entirely know everything that I was going to do for myself during that time. I had a general plan that largely I executed, but I was very open to the idea that I would see where it led me. But I knew that, listen, this work is my passion. I've been embedded in it now for 22 years, and I love it, and I love our team. And I was not interested in walking away. In fact, as I articulated to our board, me taking the time off was actually me trying really hard not to walk away, right? The
Mm,
alternative would be for me to have said, I have nothing left to offer this work, and I have done what I can, and it's someone else's turn. Um, I wanted to come back, but I knew I wasn't going to be at my best. I wasn't at my best, and I wasn't going to be at my best until I had a chance to recharge the batteries. And that's what the sabbatical really was about. And I'm proud to be on the other side of it and saying it accomplished what I needed it to accomplish. I was very good to myself. I did a lot of the things that I love and I care about. I traveled. I climbed mountains. I rode my mountain bike. I reconnected with friends and spent time with my parents, and it was remarkable. It was
mm.
truly remarkable. And here on the other side, I am thrilled to be back, and I am as excited about where the Central New York economy is going than ever. And I may be most excited that I feel good enough to be in a position where I can continue to contribute.
One last thing before Vicky jumps in and takes me. One last thing, Rob, as a man, right? This idea of vulnerability, masculinity, and admitting to yourself that I don't have it in the culture that we're in the community that we're in. How can you respond to that idea? The fear of what am I going to look like? And now that I've done it, I'm hearing from so many people that said, "Boy, I wish I would have done that when I had the opportunity."
I listen, there's something there. Obviously, I held on for as long as I did, probably by sheer force of will, because I thought I had to, or it was expected of me, or I expected it of myself, or whatever the construct is. It doesn't really matter. I held on for a lot longer than I should have. I got really good at pretending I was fine. And the reality was I wasn't fine. I probably hadn't been fine in years. And at the end of the day, to anyone who's sitting there thinking about, oh, I have some image that I must project and protect, I would just say to those individuals, um, you would be amazed at what image you might have from yourself with the opportunity to get some clarity. And I don't think that there's anybody out there who would regret investing in themselves and taking time for themselves and stepping away. I get it. I do. I understand all the pressures, and I certainly had that thought process in my head. Oh, I'm good. People will forget about me, and my work will be irrelevant. And but man, my experience, my actual experience doing this has been the exact opposite. I have found people to be more engaged, to be more supportive, to be more showing more care and concern, not only for me, but for our whole team. And it's been a really remarkable discovery. I'm exceptionally glad that I did it. I'm really glad I did it the way I did it. And I am really happy to be back.
Can't wait for the book.
Coming soon
That is for
to an
sure.
independent bookstore near you.
So, Rob, okay, I was going to ask you a couple of things about sharing what you've learned, but I think you've covered everything pretty thoroughly, okay, for those who have been paying attention. But the one thing that I would really want to go back and sort of pencil in is that you had a very supportive board,
Mm,
but they were supportive because of preparation. Can we talk
Yeah.
about preparation for board preparation to weather or to go through a situation or a process like this?
Yeah, first, I'm forever grateful to the volunteer leadership at CenterState CEO. I realize what a progressive act it was to allow, your chief executive to step away for an extended period of time. That takes a lot of faith and confidence, not only in me that I'm genuinely going to come back in a better place, ready to lead again. But it also takes a belief in the team that exists, who's going to carry the work forward while I was gone. And, of all of the things that transpired in the sabbatical, I am deeply, deeply proud of the fact that at CenterState CEO, we had a leadership team led by Ben Sayo, the interim CEO, and all of the members of our corporate leadership team, and all the way down through the organization um, who were completely capable of stepping up, who did a phenomenal job while I was gone. Coming back to Syracuse, I hadn't spent more than 72 hours in Syracuse over the 3 months I was gone. I was really away. And coming back and hearing from our members and our board and elected officials, what a great experience I had interfacing with our team while I was gone. Someone asked me like, "Well, Rob, doesn't that make you feel irrelevant?" I was like, "No, it makes me feel like I've done the job that I've been hired to do, which is build a great team to do great work and empower them to go do it." And I feel forever grateful that the board had the confidence in not just me, but in our team to go out and execute. And in a lot of ways, coming back, having seen how the team performed while I was gone, it does relieve me of some of the burden of responsibility that I felt like I was carrying. That's shared, that's distributed. There are more people who are doing that, who are carrying that weight today than there ever have been. And that's really good and healthy for me on the other side. And it's also great for them because others had opportunities to step into more of a leadership role. Um, and guess what? They shined.
Absolutely. They absolutely did. And one day we'll spend more time talking about succession planning for organizations, because I believe also the succession planning process that your board went through is also very instrumental in making this a reality, as far as feeling confident
Yeah, I mean, we
moving
started
forward.
that succession, as you know, Vicki, we started that succession planning process a decade ago, long before, I had reached a point of burnout, long before there was an idea of a sabbatical, just because it's good governance. And boy, did it really serve us well in this moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So listen, you said 22 years. Can't
22
believe it.
years.
22
I know.
years. Okay. We're
Starting to
looking
show
back.
a little bit.
Yes, it is, buddy. Okay, it's starting to show for us. Okay, oh, everybody. Okay.
Everybody.
Okay, but it's been a fun 22 years. And the reason I want to hammer in on 22 years and make everybody hear this is that I want to concentrate a little bit on some of the things that have happened most recently. And obviously, I want you to fill in as much information as you feel will be beneficial for everyone. But we've had obviously this summer the new Inspire Innovation Hub
Yes.
open up. Okay. And I want to talk about why, first of all, did we rebrand it? Why was it rebranded? And what do you see accomplishing there? And what should we look forward to?
Okay, why did we rebrand the former Tech Garden? It is in a lot of respects, it's maybe one of the riskier moves that we've made over the course of my tenure at Center State. Certainly the combination of the chamber and the MDA, no one knew if that was going to work. It's turned out pretty well, I think. Um, the Tech Garden was an iconic brand for 20 years. It was the first regional incubator. It was synonymous with our regional efforts to rebuild our innovation economy and create a group of technology companies in our community that could backfill some of the loss of historic manufacturing jobs that we experienced in Central New York over the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. A lot of that work has paid off. It's paid dividends. You up and down Warren Street from TCG Player to Impel, Density. There are dozens of companies now that are employing thousands of people in our region that emerge from that tech garden
Right.
ecosystem. I think as we worked towards the completion of this new building, we started really focusing on not just the physical reconstruction of the space, but we started focusing on the programming that we wanted to do in the space. We started doing a lot of customer discovery, talking to former clients, current clients, companies that maybe weren't clients of ours, who maybe had never engaged with us. We actively sought those companies out who had never walked in the door at the Tech Garden, and we asked them why. And I think the picture that started to emerge from that process was that the Tech Garden brand was a wonderful one for companies that were in the software and technology startup space.
Hmm.
But the reality is that our entrepreneurial community here in Central New York is far more diverse than that, operating in a lot more industry sectors, not just tech, but in manufacturing and in food and in service. And And we started to develop a picture of a more robust set of product offerings that weren't just built around scaling tech startups. That's obviously still important, but that were really around mentoring, supporting, coaching, and helping entrepreneurs of all sorts scale and be successful contributors to the Central New York economy. And when we set that as our North Star, it became pretty obvious that the Tech Garden brand was more narrow than we wanted. And I think there was also an element as we started to watch the building take shape, right? This physical transformation of what used to be this flat, sort of nondescript first
Yeah.
floor of an old parking garage. We started to see the steel frame come up and we started to see the new shape take place. And and I think somewhere along the way it dawned on all of us that there's an as with any element of entrepreneurial risk taking or sort of the innovation journey, there's this element of aspiration
Mm.
that as an individual human being, I can do something better for myself by taking control of my own destiny and starting a business, or pull it up to the community level that we can literally shape our own future, right? We can take an old building and we can turn it into something beautiful just by sheer force of will and effort and collaboration and investment. And honestly, when we started talking about that as a team, we knew that we had to do something different and that we had this remarkable opportunity to just set a new bar and start a new conversation about the future of the Syracuse economy. The Tech Garden, we planted seeds and some of them have grown and sprouted and become great companies. But the moment that we're in today in Central New York is very different than the moment the Tech Garden was started in 2004. We're no longer trying to plant seeds. We are reaping the rewards of the investments that we've made as a
Mm.
community. We're constantly pushing ourselves to do bigger things. In the last couple of years, we've gotten to a decision to tear down Interstate 81. We've had billion-dollar startups come out of our ecosystem. We landed Micron. Like that moment demands something more than just the Tech Garden. And that was the source of inspiration for how we landed on the Inspire Innovation Hub. And I still remember the day, and Vicki probably does too, that um, our team had been talking internally about this idea of rebranding. And we'd spent about 2 months. We'd engaged a consultant, Andre from Such Chaos, to work with
Mhm.
us. And we hadn't landed the plane. Like we were coming up with all these ideas and it wasn't, nothing quite felt right. We knew we were doing the right thing, but it wasn't landing. And we had an executive committee meeting. And we were sitting around, we ended that meeting early and we were sitting around as a group and just chit-chatting. And I think I just told the group that we were in the process of trying to rebrand the Tech Garden.
Mhm.
I said it out loud for the first time, not to our team, but like to our volunteer leadership. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this thing." And I remember the eyeballs was like, "What? What are you doing?" And of course, the natural question is like, "Well, where are you going with that? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Honestly, I don't know." And and I remember like there wasn't pushback because we have great leadership, but there was definitely a sense of like, oh, well, that's new, that's different. How's that going to play out? And ironically, the act of saying that, like our leadership team didn't expect me to say that. I hadn't planned to say that in that meeting, but the act of saying it out loud to that group, we are committing to rebrand the Tech Garden. Within 48 hours of that meeting, our team had landed the plane. We
Wow.
found the
Mhm.
concept. And I swear to God, I believe that the reason we landed the plane is that we formally committed to doing the thing. We took like keeping the Tech Garden brand kind of off the table, right? Like we took the safety net away and we committed ourselves to this journey and all of a sudden we landed in a place that we feel really good about. And I love the way that the brand has been received. I had a member of ours right after I got back from sabbatical who was one of the early investors, Jim McCarthy from Northland Communications, one of the early sponsors of our effort to rebuild the former Tech Garden. And he said to me, he's like, I just had a chance to go through Inspire, and it was really remarkable. And he's like, let me tell you, when I first heard that you were rebranding, you came up with Inspire. He's like, I really liked it. And then my second thought was, oh man, that's a really hard brand promise to live up to. And I was like, huh, interesting. That thought actually hadn't passed my mind. Like, we're going to live up to whatever
Right,
brand promise
right.
we put out there. But for him, it was like, all right, now you guys better deliver. And his next statement to me was, and you guys really nailed it. He's, like walking through the building, he's like, you totally nailed it. You captured that spirit of innovation, you captured that vitality, and it clearly is a space that inspires people to want to do something bigger and better. And that was what we were trying to accomplish. It's really that simple.
So, there's so many things through that conversation that we could dig deeply into. And one of them that I want to make sure that we really pay attention to is that inspiring a community and how it dovetails into the mission statement for CenterState CEO, so that, okay, how are we going to inspire all people in all communities within the Syracuse community to, first of all, understand that they belong there, secondly, take advantage of, and thirdly, to make sure that there is no hesitancy to actually get involved.
Yeah, it's really interesting when we were doing our customer discovery work and really looking at the profile of the clients that we were working with through all of our innovation programs. What we found was that 50% of the clients we're working with were women or minority owned businesses. What we found was that the vast majority of clients we were working with weren't tech startups, right? And so it became very obvious to us very quickly when we were confronted with our own actual data, looking at it, thinking strategically about it, that the path forward really is a space, not only the physical building, the brand, but the programming that can appeal to the broadest possible audience of entrepreneurs, and understanding also that at this point in Central New York's trajectory, it's not just about the Inspire Innovation Hub, but we've got the Keenan Center at Lemoyne, and we've got the Blackstone Launchpad at SU, and we have innovation programming in lots of different places. And how do we knit that together? The WISE program, right? Women
Right.
Entrepreneurial Program. How do we knit those things together to help all entrepreneurs have the most cohesive support ecosystem they have? That was really the charge that we were taking on, to be the hub of that ecosystem. And I feel like we are making really great strides to that. Today the building's open, tenants are in, it's open to co-working teams. The building, believe it or not, was 95% occupied on the day we reopened. We really did a great job. Our team came up with this phrase in that process of rebuilding our programming, that we were going to earn the commute, right? In the remote work world, a lot of people are choosing to work from home, including entrepreneurs who maybe say, I don't need to have that overhead for that office. We're going to earn the commute. And sure enough, we did. We've got people in the building. I was just down there earlier today with Mayor Walsh and Mayor-elect Owens taping a podcast episode. And it's great to see the energy and the vitality in that building. And that energy and that vitality just looks a lot more like our Syracuse and Central New York community today than it ever did in the days of the Tech Garden, and I'm really proud of that.
So the event that's happening on the 22nd of this month, the pitch night.
Yeah,
Okay, is that something that you would encourage everyone to come out and take part in?
I would. I would encourage folks to go to CenterStateCEO.com. We've got all our events listed there. You'll find out about December 22nd pitch night. It's a great chance for companies who are in our Started program, which is sort of one of the earliest stage entrepreneurial programs. People who have an idea, people who don't yet have a revenue generating business but are trying to start one. Those individuals who are going through that program right now are going to have a chance to stand up, talk about their business, pitch, look for investors, look for partners and customers. It's a high energy event. It's going to be great. You'll see a wonderful cross section of really creative and innovative talent across Central New York. And that's one of the things that makes me really hopeful for this community's future, is there are lots of people like that. We are just discovering how to tap into all the pools of talent in our community and finding new ways to support them. And I'm just really excited about that.
So after 22 years, and we've been talking about it, and everybody's still very excited. I still wear my orange and blue and white Micron um, garb that they gave us in the
And
very first meeting.
yes, and Vicki, as you're doing that, would you just reintroduce, because we're, so people can know what they're
Oh,
listening to and what they're watching?
okay. We have Rob Simpson, who is the Chief Executive Officer for CenterState CEO, who's
Yes.
joining us tonight. or this
I,
afternoon, or this
or
morning.
whenever they get
He's
whenever
joining
they
us,
see this.
okay, to discuss what's been happening in the Central New York region concerning entrepreneurship, growth in the ecosystem, and growth within the business community. So,
Right.
Rob, what I was about to say is this. Um, the story of Micron coming to Syracuse
Hmm.
seems like it was basically Chuck Schumer came and Micron came with Chuck Schumer, the way it was presented. But what's the real story? How did this all come together? And how many steps were involved? And how many conversations and how much planning and over the years nurturing to get to this place where Central New York was even a thought for a firm like Micron?
Yeah, that's a thank you for that question.
I'm laughing.
There are no political landmines here at all for me.
Right, right, right,
Let's
right,
see.
right,
It is I will start by saying the story of Micron coming to Central New York, I think, is the product of the single most remarkable level of leadership collaboration that I have seen in my time in Central New York.
right.
Truly and honestly, and we've all lived through periods in Central New York where our business community didn't work with each other, where our elected officials didn't work with each other, where our civic community, our educational institutions weren't engaged and involved, and the results showed that we weren't working together. And in this moment, I think, yes, Senator Schumer being the majority leader at the time when the semiconductor industry was trying to create programs to enable new investment in the United States of America, that was a huge help to us. Chuck Schumer was tenacious, ferocious, deeply engaged, a wonderful partner, and refused to quit even when the legislative odds looked like they were stacked against getting the CHIPS Act passed. Um, Chuck Schumer is not the only hero in the story. County executive and his team did a remarkable job of taking what was this,
Brian
um,
McMahon, right?
yeah, Ryan McMahon,
Right.
White Pine Business Park that's been around for 25 years, has sometimes been a joke on the front page of the paper or teased in the editorial page. And the reality is that as the after County Executive Man came into office, I think he recognized that that site had a tremendous amount of potential. It had a very unique power quality asset with the hydro coming from the west and the nuclear power coming down from the north, intersecting right across the street from the site. And he understood that there was an opportunity for the semiconductor manufacturing there and started to build out that site and acquire more land. And he took a lot of criticism for it, but he did it because he believed in creating an opportunity for this region. And had he not done so, that site wouldn't have been big enough, and Micron would have moved on to somewhere else. We happen to have a gubernatorial transition that occurred during the site selection process.
Mm-hmm.
First couple of months of our conversations with Micron, Andrew Cuomo was still governor, and honestly, when Kathy Hochul came into office in end of August or September of 2022, no, 20, 21, 20,
20,
22,
I think it's
21,
22. Yeah. Okay.
22. Thank you. Um, Man, she rolled up her sleeves and jumped right in. She met with Micron on like her second day on the job. She prioritized investment in upstate New York and in central New York and change state law to enable things to help bring the company here. What a remarkable thing, right? A Republican county executive, a Democratic governor, a Democratic senator. I like to think that there are a lot of other stakeholders, our university and ecosystem that produces the talent. That's one of the things that caught Micron's attention was the concentration of talent. 7,250 engineers that are produced within 2 hours of Syracuse at our higher education institutions, right? That's 6% of all the engineering graduates in the United States of America within 2 hours of downtown Syracuse. And that's a renewable resource for companies like Micron. And they bought into that. And I'm really proud of the work that not only CenterState, but all of our partners in economic and community development have done over the last 20 years to help turn the future and trajectory of our region around. We were able to tell Micron what our turnaround strategy had been, right? They're very familiar with Syracuse. They know the story of the Rust Belt communities and how they'd fallen off. And we were able to tell the story that we understood why we fell off. We understood what our assets are. We built a strategy built on those assets to go forward. And we were well down the road of executing that strategy and having success at the point at which we were introduced to Micron. We could show them that our population in Central New York had stopped falling, had plateaued, and had started to grow again. We could show them a downtown that was a source of energy and vitality that would be attractive to future employees to Micron, right? We could show them an innovation ecosystem and a project like Inspire that was about to come out of the ground, and our region's efforts in unmanned systems and drone technology. We could point to real success. And I think that that demonstrated to Micron that this was a community that understood what it took to reposition its economy for the future. And maybe more importantly, a community that had demonstrated a deep willingness and ability to work together on something really hard. And if you're a company like Micron investing hundreds of billions of dollars in our backyard, you want to know that you're going into a community that has their act together, a community that can work on really hard things. And there were lots of really hard things that had to be solved in the course of that recruitment and since the recruitment. And I'm so proud of that, right? Our ability to collaborate together, all those partners over God knows how many hours, over, 8, 16, 17, 18 months from the start of the recruitment to the finish, um, is truly one of the most remarkable things that I've experienced in my leadership time here in Central New York. I will forever be grateful to have been a part of it, and I will forever cherish the partnerships that were built with all those stakeholders, um, because we all share, all of us involved in that, all share this common bond of having done something really difficult that nobody thought could happen in this region. That feels really good.
But I've always been curious as to all those things are knitted together, and we understand how those things moved forward, but there had to have been a point where some seed was planted, either in Micron's world or our world, that turned the light bulb on for Central New York to be considered. What was it?
I'll answer this from two perspectives. I'll give you a perspective of where I think we sort of broke through with the company, where our story and narrative broke through, and I'll tell you where something clicked for me. Um, I think we broke through with the company. We had a great site. I mean, at the end of the day, we were on there.
Mm,
We were on the list to they hired Deloitte to do a site selection process. Deloitte, very sophisticated. They
mm,
track the major industrial sites all over the country, and they create a short list for Micron, and short list is probably 50 sites or something like that all over the country. And they start gathering information, asking for information from us. What's the power capability? What's the wastewater capability? And the county is doing a great job of responding to those things, and gets us to the point where we're in the game and we're in consideration. And at each stage, there were new questions that Micron was asking of our team. They spent a lot of time early on asking about workforce. Your community, Syracuse, is the smallest of all the communities that we're looking at all over the country. How can you sit here and tell us that you can help us fill 9,000 direct jobs and the 40,000 ancillary jobs that are coming with this project? And they put us through our paces. I'm really proud of the work that CenterState's team did in responding to those workforce questions, and a lot of our partners in the ecosystem, um, our higher education partners. We were able to show not only that we had the engineering talent, but we were also able to show that we were already working as a community to build pipelines for more members of our community, historically un and underemployed, to gain access to advanced manufacturing careers. Like, that was work that was already in process. We could show Micron, hey, look what we are already doing. In order to help you, we will just need to scale these efforts. And I think those things legitimately made a difference. There was no chance of this project coming anywhere in the United States unless the CHIPS Act passed at the in Washington, D.C. And getting that piece of legislation passed, which will give Chuck Schumer and his team, it was bipartisan, give them all the credit in the world for stepping up and getting something really important done for the country to protect our economic competitiveness and national security. Absent that, this project doesn't happen. Once the CHIPS Act passed, conversations really heated up. It got a lot more serious, not surprisingly. Um, Kathy Hochul had to do something similar. She had to pass the New York State green chips law to basically create enough economic incentives in the state of New York to attract a company like Micron on the scale of investment. And the county exec had to take a 300-acre site and turn it into 1,400 acres. Each and every one of those times that Micron articulated for us what they needed to be successful, we viewed that as our work list, right? That was the task order. We had to solve for that. If we didn't solve for that, we were getting kicked out the other side of the process. And so we took quite seriously everything that that company shared with us about what it takes for them to profitably make chips in the United States of America. And we built solutions. We showed them the solutions we had. And if we didn't have solutions, we built new ones from scratch. It's that simple. And sooner or later, the conversations with Micron went from like, yeah, about to do a down selection. Don't get too excited because you guys are the smallest place on the map. Sooner or later, they it became clear to us that that we were being seriously considered. And that was awesome to know that we were in the game. Right? It's also terrifying because when you're in a game you don't expect to be in, you kind of have imposter syndrome a little bit to some extent. But we never really felt that. We always felt like we belonged in this conversation. And I will just say for myself, I always felt like Micron was the partner that we wanted. There were other semiconductor companies that were coming to Onondaga County that were interested in that site. But I think we all wanted Micron for a lot of different reasons, um, including some of their values that they articulated to us and the ways that they were talking about partnership. I will just say from my own standpoint, I've told this story a couple times, but in September of the year that process started, right before they went down to meet with Governor Hochul for the first time, we had a dinner down in Albany the night before that meeting, and Ryan and Bob Petrovich from Onondaga County came down, and I went down from CenterState, and folks from Empire State Development in the state of New York were there, and someone from Senator Schumer's office was there, and we ended up having a 6-hour dinner, and we had our first chance to talk with Micron's senior executives,
Hmm.
and somewhere around 3 or 4 hours into that conversation, um, they just articulated really clearly what they needed, right? They needed federal incentives. They needed to be cost competitive. They needed a site that was big enough. They needed a workforce. They needed a community that understood how to be nimble and flexible and that wanted to be a part of the future-driven economy. And there wasn't anything on that list that didn't feel like we could deliver. Even the hard things like changing federal law felt like like this is where Chuck Schumer comes in. It was like, huh, well, if ever there's a chance for us to change federal law, it's right now. So let's go get it. Right? We got a brand new governor who comes in, who's from upstate New York, who loves upstate New York, wants to see upstate New York thrive. If ever there was a chance for us to take a big swing on behalf of upstate New York, it was going to be under her leadership. So yeah, let's go try that. And and I just that evening coming back to Syracuse, I got home at 2:30 in the morning and I sat down and I typed out an email, which I still keep because
Hmm.
it means something to me. I typed out an email to some of the folks on our team. At that point, no one knew who the company was. We were operating with a code name, Project Yankee.
Yeah.
And I remember saying in my note, this is going to sound crazy. This is how I started. This is going to sound crazy, but leaving this dinner, I actually think we have a chance to land this deal. And at the time, it wasn't 100 billion, it was 40 billion, and it was 4,000 jobs, not 9,000. It was still the biggest thing we'd ever worked on. It was still crazy to think that we would be in the game. But there was something about the conversation, something about the values alignment, something about the task order list that they articulated that felt possible to me. right? Knowing what our regional capabilities are, knowing what they need to accomplish. Like, yeah, it was going to be hard. It was a delicate needle to thread, but like there was a lane for us to fill and accomplish this. And in that moment, I had two thoughts. It was like, oh wow, like we're suddenly going to be spending a lot of time on this because the opportunity is so big. We can't not put our best foot forward. And the second was, oh man, if we actually land this, it's going to break some things in Central New York, and we better start thinking about what's going to break our housing, our healthcare infrastructure, our education infrastructure. We better start thinking and planning for that because we're not going to have a whole lot of time after we win to start figuring those things out. And that conversation, in a lot of ways, really positioned us, the New York team well because we started to think about solutions for the post-Micron environment, not
Well, here's
just
yeah, here's the thing that it's funny that you said that. Here's the thing that's really visual for me. We used to talk about the fact that we never saw cranes in the air. Remember that?
yeah,
That
yeah.
was
Oh, I
about
do.
10 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, even 4 years ago,
4 years ago. Okay. Now I can't see the air anymore.
cranes everywhere.
uh, uh,
Cranes. Yes.
Vicky, let me get in here real quick
Yeah.
because I want to settle something.
Okay, settle it.
Because Vicky got on me, Rob.
I sure
Okay,
did.
So we're gonna
I
I'm
hear
did.
from
taking
the
Vicky. Listen, I'm taking Vicky's side. Whatever she said, I agree.
we're gonna hear from the horse's mouth. So I I got on the air and said, so remember the headline around the 3 year
Oh yeah,
delay. Yes, you do.
yes.
So Vicky, Vicky lists when we're, she hears the segments and she heard me say this and she's texting me, you didn't see Rob's response and retort, and you made it seem like, so basically I said, oh, it's 2 to 3 years delay. And I said, this is what people were concerned about, that, oh, here we go again, another thing that was promised to Syracuse, but here we go again. And so you wrote a nice piece on LinkedIn saying, what if the headline were this? So Rob, because Vicky got on me and because you're here, I will go on, fall on the sword, and let you correct the record.
Yeah, I actually don't want you to fall on the sword.
Okay.
I don't think that the skepticism is misplaced or unhealthy. For anybody
Mm-hmm.
who's lived in Central New York for as
Right.
long as we have, we've gone through some things. We
Yeah.
have we have had economic trauma, right? Like that's real. And
Real.
so
Yeah.
I understand exactly where it comes from. And I've reached a point in my career where yeah, sometimes it bothers me, but I get it. And I don't feel like the only thing that we should do to push back against that is prove people wrong,
Mm.
right? At the end of the day, the only thing that your listeners are going to believe is whether Micron ends up in the ground, whether they employ 9,000 people like they said they were going to do. Like that's on Micron. They're going to have to show up and they're going to have to do that, right? We are going to have to help them do that. And right now, that is the mentality. People are working around the clock to bring this project online as quickly as possible. But I will also just say that there is no benchmark for a project like this.
Mm.
There's no benchmark for it.
Right.
There's no model for how it should happen, how quick it should happen. The semiconductor industry largely has not been building in the United States of America for the last 40 years.
40
There are a
years.
couple of examples, a couple of
Mm.
fabs that have gone up, mostly smaller scale, but these mega scale fabs, like we're talking about with TSMC and Intel and Micron, this is a new thing for U.S. construction firms. It's a new thing for U.S. architecture firms. It's a new thing for our union labor force.
Mm-hmm.
And we are learning as we're going. Micron's experience in Boise has been that it's taken a lot longer than they thought to get a fab out of the ground. They thought it'd be 26, 28 months. It's taken closer to 40. And so they're taking their real world experience, right? Their lived experience, and they're extrapolating that to Central New York. And they're saying, hey, that timeline we thought we had is maybe too aggressive, and we should at least consider that it could be this longer timeline. And listen, that doesn't feel unreasonable to me when you're trying to do something this hard. Now, do we all need to hold Micron accountable for doing what they said they will do? 100%. I'll be the first person that wants to do that. But I also understand how hard what Micron is trying to do really is. And I want all of us to give Micron and the state and the county and the federal government, all the partners that are working overtime to deliver this. I want us to give them some grace, given the fact that there is no model for this. The stakes are supremely high. They're supremely high from an economic standpoint, right? Micron's profitability depends on it. But think of the geopolitical stakes of the U.S. getting this right.
Yeah, right.
And our national security depends on it. You think that doesn't weigh on the team members at the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation when they're looking at a permit, or like everybody understands what's at stake. Everybody knows that this is a remarkably unique opportunity for Central New York and upstate New York as a whole. It's the most important project that Micron has taken on in their corporate history, and we got to get it right. And that is what we're working on right now.
Love that
So
answer.
part of, and George, he's been waiting so long for you to say that I was too hard on him. I went too hard.
I learned a long time ago to just
Uh,
take advice from Vicki. Whatever she take advice from Vicki.
but here's
Financial advice, life advice, advice about Micron. I'll take it all.
okay. So, but the main thing is that I don't want us to get into every and I wouldn't call it a little thing, but every change being viewed as being a negative that's going to disrupt the project in such a way that it doesn't exist. Because there are going to be lots of rewrites and change orders and things that have to have because as you said, there is no template for this.
Right,
We
right.
are we are walking through it and building at the same time.
Yeah.
That's
But
right.
I am happy to hear that I think it was uh, uh, Ryan McMahon who said that if he had to go out and chop down the trees himself, that before
and
the end of the
and
year,
and
this
We
groundbreaking was
grab the
taking place.
chainsaw out of the basement and we go
Exactly, he was going out there.
give the
Okay.
permit.
and listen, I was up at OCC and I see what they're doing with the clean room, fab, simulation lab up there. So it, things are happening, and I think that's what Vicky was trying to impress upon me.
So
Things are happening.
but
There's no shortage of effort. There's
effort
no
and
shortage
activity.
of intent,
Right.
right? So if there were a lack of intent, then that would really concerning me. If there were a lack of effort, that would be really concerning to me. I'm not seeing either of those at this point. What I'm seeing is really people who've worked together now for the better part of almost, 4 or 5 years, right? The team between Micron and the state and feds and everybody else and the county, obviously. I'm seeing everybody working really hard and every day finding a problem and then finding or manufacturing a solution to that problem so that we can make this happen as quick as possible, as best as possible, and help Micron produce the highest quality, lowest cost chips so that they can be competitive long into the future and we can reap the economic benefits of their success.
So in part of that economic benefit though is also some other things that are happening around Central New York that have been talked about a little bit, but I don't think necessarily explained to its fullest. First of all, concerning the Pathways to Apprenticeship program.
Pathways to Apprenticeship program is an awesome program that is literally changing the lives of humans who live here in Syracuse. I was just earlier today, I was down at the temporary on-ramp location. On-ramp is Governor Hochul's new advanced manufacturing and construction training program that she's rolled out in 4 communities around upstate New York, Syracuse being the flagship. And I was down there with Dr. Carleen Lacey, our CEO, for the open house. That new space is fully renovated and hosting class for Pathways to Apprenticeship. And I had a chance to meet one of the young men who's going to graduate from that program on Friday. And what a great experience it is to meet someone and hear from someone who is personally benefiting from the work that we're all collectively doing and who's feeling great and excited about his own future when, maybe just a couple of, short months ago, that future didn't look so bright. This program is a partnership with our trades, the construction trades here in Central New York. It is something that we've had hundreds of people go through that program. I think we're in cohort 9 or 10 at this point that we've done over the last few years, and preparing people for construction jobs on Interstate 81, preparing people for construction jobs on the Micron fabs or on any other projects where you see these big cranes in the air. Construction in Syracuse and Central New York for a very long time was a seasonal job.
Right.
Mm,
And it was a speculative job because you never knew one year to the next, like, was the economy going to tank, or was it, we didn't have robust economic growth. And now that we are in a period of robust economic growth, right? Central New York in the last year has led New York State in the rate of job creation, the fastest growing metro on a percentage basis of job creation of any city in New York
Say
State.
that again, please.
Syracuse, New York,
Slowly.
Syracuse, New York in 2025 has the fastest rate of job creation of any city in New York State. Faster than New York
mm.
City, faster than Buffalo, faster than Albany. We are leading the state, and as a result, there are projects and there's construction activity, and there is suddenly an opportunity for us to help people step into careers in construction, not just a job, not just a seasonal employment, but to step into careers working for the trades. And that's what Pathways to Apprenticeship is all about.
And Rob, to your point about just an anecdote, your point about the winter, I'm this week we had some of the biggest snowstorms, and the people were out there working.
Working.
I've never seen that, right? So that's to your point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no
Okay.
doubt.
And so and so we've got the on-ramp program, Pathways to Apprenticeship. We've got what's happening directly with Micron. I also saw that Andy Brewer was involved in what is the project out in the East that that they just closed? Anyway, everywhere you look, you see something going on.
Yeah.
We are in it. It's starting to make me feel like, and I hope this doesn't jinx it, but to feel like the days when I used to come through Boston during the time of the
The
big
big
dig. There was
dig.
never, I mean, there was always day and night some type of activity going on concerning either infrastructure rebuild, growth in the city itself. Last thing I'm going to ask you though,
Wait,
I asked this.
two more
Yep.
things. Two more things.
Oh,
So
two
you do
more
your.
things?
Can I do one thing before you do your last thing?
Okay, go ahead, George.
All
He's
right.
so happy.
No, no. I. Well, you do your last thing, and then I'll
No,
do
no,
the
no,
one more.
no. I'm
Oh,
going to close. Go
okay.
ahead.
All
I got
right.
to
All
go.
right. So, Rob, I had Johanna Rogers on, the director of, I
Yeah.
can't think of what it is, but you know.
Racial equity and social
Thank you.
inclusion.
And
Yep.
I wanted to give you a shout out, and I want to give you a chance to address this straight on, because when you did your talk at the economic forecast
Breakfast.
luncheon, you were very clear about the reaffirming of your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion as a business practice in this community. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity. First of all, I gave you a shout out to her, but I want to give you an opportunity to really talk about that, because this is critically important to this audience, your affirmation of your commitment to that in an environment where we see others running away from it.
Listen, this is a very diverse community, and our strategies have to reflect that diversity. Our ambition and aspiration for Central New York has to be one that embraces opportunity for all, right? I'm very proud of the fact that at CenterState CEO, our mission statement, right, as a business-led economic development organization and strategist, our mission statement is to create a region where business thrives, but then it continues to say, and where all people prosper. Not some people prosper, but where all people prosper. I think that's just the basic, that should be basic table stakes for communities like ours. And I know there's national political debates and all sorts of heated rhetoric about this space, but I approach it from a community standpoint. Our community is highly diverse. Our community has suffered by being historically um, uh, uh, like bifurcated, right?
Right.
Like we have had real socioeconomic racial segregation that has happened in our community. And for us to heal, for us to thrive, for us to reach our peak economic performance, we need to be able to acknowledge those things. We need to understand them, and we need to be committed to absolutely unequivocally doing better in the future. It's why we are proud to have the Inspire Innovation Hub serve all entrepreneurs, just not tech, right? To serve people in every single industry in all parts of our community. It's why Dr. Rogers is on our corporate leadership team because we believe that part of our role in the Central New York community is to show up in all of our communities and be as strong and as good of a partner as we possibly can. So to me, I get frustrated with the political debate around this. We are and we always will be a diverse community and a diverse nation, and and we should all want the very best for our neighbors, for our friends. It's in our collective interests to have as many people in Central New York employed. That creates more opportunity for small business owners. That creates more opportunity for entrepreneurs to go try something new. Raising the standard of living and the quality of life for the people who live here in Central New York is as important to our mission as attracting new business or helping a company expand. It's just that simple.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that has been a message that CenterState has carried forward for the entire time that I have been involved. I should say this, and I don't know if I did. I'm very proud to be part of that governing body, to be part of the board, the volunteer board there with CenterState CEO, and look forward to. Well, I don't know. I have 3 or 4 more years left, but look forward to seeing what's next. So here's my last question, though, Rob.
Yes, ma'am.
Breathe. Here we go. When Mary-elect Owens was on, I asked her the same question, and as we have additional guests, I'm going to ask the same question, and that is, what is the Syracuse secret sauce? When you think about Syracuse,
Yeah.
okay, and what makes us special, and what is it that really drives, okay, in your mind's eye, the sparkle, okay, puts that sparkle in your eye about Syracuse.
What you
Yeah.
got,
What
Rob?
is the Syracuse secret sauce?
Can I give a couple answers? Because it's not one thing. It's a mix of ingredients.
Okay, so
Uh,
go ahead.
I give you what I think it is. Um, we're a community um, that's big enough to be interesting, but small enough to be nimble and agile, where leaders know each other well enough to build trust and credibility with each other. I think that's a massive advantage in the moment that we're in, um, especially the hyper politicized moment that we're in, where it's easy to take the face away from the person you're criticizing. Like you can't do that here in Syracuse. We all run into each other at the grocery store or the high school basketball game, and I love that about this place. Um, we have um, we have a rich history of having a workforce here in Central New York that just works exceptionally hard. And the data shows and proves it. We have a workforce in Central New York that is more productive than most other places in the United States of America. And I think that's a product of our kind of blue collar roots and the hustle and the grit and the determination that people in Syracuse have had to have from when they scratched out a living on the edge of the
Mm,
Erie Canal all the way up through today. That grit and tenacity is honestly something that I absolutely love. I think part of the the little pixie dust that's been sprinkled on top over the course of the last couple of years is collaboration.
Mm.
And when I came back to Syracuse in 2020 or 2003, um, I don't mind saying this place couldn't work together on anything for any reason. And it showed in our civic progress or lack thereof. And today it's very different. Sure, there will always be disputes and disagreements,
Hmm.
but when you look at the front page of the paper today, you see people collaborating across party lines, across socioeconomic strata. You see unlikely partnerships between business and organized labor to create a pathways to apprenticeship program, right? You see collaboration, and that collaboration is what makes it work. That collaboration is what unlocks all the awesome assets that we know exist here in Central New York. When we don't work together, those things stay trapped in their silos. And when we work together and we talk to each other and we trust each other a little bit and we disagree, but maybe we find consensus on something, that is when we unlock the potential of all these assets, the human assets, the physical assets, the higher education assets, the innovation assets. They all are set free in that moment when people work together. That's the recipe.
okay, so that's the
Secret
recipe.
sauce.
So we're gonna, as I told you, George, we're gonna have this running list when we get to the end of it. Big T-shirt, secret sauce
That's a
formula.
book right there, right? The secret sauce from all those stakeholders' perspective. That'd be interesting.
All right. Okay.
Sounds
All
like
right.
a series. Hmm.
Oh, oh, okay. All
Hmm.
right.
More to come
Well,
there. More to come there.
okay. Well, listen, Rob, thank you so much for taking this time to spend with us. We want to make sure that everyone understands that if you have the opportunity, you should make sure that you attend many of the special events that are going on there with CenterState CEO, like the Pathways to Apprenticeship graduation ceremony, which is coming up on on December 19th. They're at the Westcott Theater, and also on Monday, December 22nd, the Inspire Pitch Night, which will be down at the Inspire Innovation Hub. Also, here we go, George. You ready?
Ready?
February 22nd. February 22nd is the 19th annual Black History Month Jazz and Arts Cabaret, which will be at the Drumlin's
Country Club.
Country Club. Thank you, Drumlin's Country Club. Starting at 4 p.m., doors will open. Tickets go on sale in about 10 days.
All
We
right.
sell out, so you know it's going to be time for you to make sure that you got your sparkles and everything ready for February 22nd. If you have questions, feel free to give me a call at area code 315-930-4499 or at info@Brackens, Brackens, Brackens, FSN.com. And I will say, our plate is now full.
Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial member SIPC. She is America's money maven.